Alright guys, it's Prince. Now it's time for the tournament report from the Rayquaza Cup number 10 in the 2 and 3 player tournament. Now I know I said in my last video that I didn't find much content about the Rayquaza Cup out there, but I hadn't checked since after Rayquaza Cup 9 had happened, and there's actually this channel called The Bison 2 that did an even better job than I did at explaining exactly what the Rayquaza Cup is. So I'll leave their video in the description of this video as well as my last video, because I went ahead and subscribed to him. Some pretty good content coming from over in that side. But today, we're talking about how our tournament went on Rayquaza Cup number 10. So, I mentioned in the last video that we went in with a plan, right? So, the way this breaks down, this is very, elementary knowledge of Pokemon Unite. You're supposed to have 2 Pokemon in the top lane, 1 in the center, 2 in the bottom lane. This is kind of just the bare bones way that competitive kind of shapes up. And in general, you want a brawler in the top lane with a supporter to kind of beef up their stats and keep them alive and well. At the bottom lane, you want a tank, and behind them, you want some ranged damage dealer. This is usually the case. There are some exceptions. And then, of course, in Central, you want a Pokemon that is really good at when over-leveled. Really good at putting all of that extra farm to good use. And in the past, Speedsters have been very good junglers because they can move around quicker and get from top lane to bottom lane faster, etc., etc. Currently, Speedsters aren't in the greatest place, but really the jungler is oftentimes the most influential role. And so with this in mind, we decided that we would focus on the roles of the jungler, the bottom lane tank, and the bottom lane damage dealer, the mage. And the reason is because we were a group of 3. It was myself, Sokovan, and Thundertoes. And that means there are always going to be 2 spots unaccounted for. And we figured that we would rather take the 3 that we consider to be the most important roles, and hopefully we'd be able to carry games this way, regardless of the quality of the allies that we'd be handed, which of course we knew nothing about. This was our very first Rayquaza Cup, right? So, what to play? There were a lot of decisions that went into... There were a lot of factors that went into our decision-making, is what I'm trying to say here. And I want to talk about me in particular. Now, Thundertoes and Sokovan are really good at this game. They are mechanical geniuses compared to me, but they are also chaotic and unstable when it comes to picking Pokemon to play. They kind of are just all over the place. I mean, Sokovan's a tinkerer. He likes to tinker with everything. He'll tinker with boost emblems, he'll tinker with different items, he'll switch to this Pokemon and that Pokemon. Thundertoes will sometimes just get tired of one, be feeling something, not vibing with something, switching on and off. And I'm usually known as the reliable one that kind of just sticks to a Pokemon and just plays it over and over and over and over again and really tries to master it. And that lends itself well to the tank role. So before we started, we were trying to decide what role everyone should be, and then Sokovan and Thundertoes were both in agreement that we had the best chances of success if I played the tank, which is very flattering. I do my best to try and be the best tank that I possibly can. And so my options at first seemed pretty clear. The Pokemon that I have by far the most experience tanking with are Crustle, Slowbro, and Wigglytuff. I do have 2 accounts, so some of the points will be split up between this account and that account, so these performance points you're seeing are not the only things that I've gained with these characters. Now, before the World Championships, I guess I forgot to mention, but the World Championships at this point happened earlier this month, so they're very, very fresh. Before that tournament started, I was really under the impression that Slowbro was the best defender in the game. And so I've been playing an awful lot of Slowbro. Before that, I've been playing my main Crustle. But Crustle isn't amazing in this meta, and one of the reasons is that one of his absolute worst matchups got a very big buff and is now one of the most successful Pokemon, and I'm talking about Charizard. When Charizard unites, Crustle can do nothing to him. Charizard is too fast for Crustle to reach, Rock Tomb does nothing because Charizard is flying overhead, X-Scissor is so easy to miss with, and you can't run away because of the speed difference. So Charizard just eats Crustle for lunch. I mean, I thought the Tyranitar meta was kind of bad. Charizard is far worse. I've always considered Charizard to be one of the worst matchups for Crustle. It just never seemed that relevant to say, because Charizard has always been so bad for the longest history of the game. But now that he's actually really good, playing Crustle seems a little bit dangerous. But when it came to analyzing how the World Championships actually went, there was a defender that performed way better than Slowbro did. And so looking at the statistics, you can see the number one most picked character by far is Umbreon. And Slowbro's all the way down at number 10 with less than half of the picks that Umbreon got. And this was shocking to me. Even Mamoswine and Trevenant performed better than Slowbro, and that is because they perform better into an all-rounder meta. All-rounders are super duper powerful right now. That's why you see Ceruledge all the way up there, Gyarados is really high, Blaziken is really high. Urshifu's also really good right now, and so is Charizard, even though they may not be very well represented in this pick rate. So I decided to go with Umbreon. This is a Pokemon that I failed to master many, many times in the past, and one of the reasons is Umbreon just feels a little different than the other tanks. I consistently wasn't able to figure out exactly how much damage I could take, how much damage I could deal. It was always in that awkward spot where I just couldn't figure it out. Not only that, but Umbreon, throughout most of its history, has always had at least 2 different builds that were viable at the same time, and within those builds, multiple different items could slot on and off. So it's not like Crustle that's so simple. It's like you put an XP Share on him, you put a Focus Band on him, and you put a Resonant Guard on him, and you play X as a Rock Tomb, and that's it. You've got Crustle. You could sometimes mess around with Buddy Barrier, sometimes mess around with something like a Weakness Policy, but for the most part, it's a very, very simple Pokemon. Even at this World Championship, we saw so many different types of Umbreons. I stuck with one that seems to be the most popular, which is XP Share Attack Weight, so he's stacking, but with the attack weight, not the cookie, and a Focus Band. There were a lot of pro players that were on this build, and this one is really good specifically for Wish Umbreon. Foul Play Wish is, in my opinion, and based on the pick rate at Worlds, the most popular Umbreon build right now. But of course, there are others that work. It's Umbreon. He's super versatile. He's going to be good with many, many things. And so one of the things that we did leading up to this tournament is I practiced so much on Umbreon. I grinded and grinded. I grinded with Thundertoes. I grinded with Sokovan. I was trying to ingrain the play patterns of this build into my mind. And I got quite a bit better over the week right before the Rayquaza Cup started, which was awesome because this gives us access to a weapon that maybe not everyone would choose. We had no idea what level of competition we were expecting, how often Umbreon was going to be counterpicked or banned, but we wanted that as our primary option. Now, as for the other two, well, we wanted a jungler and we wanted a bottom laner, right? So the jungler was a little bit tricky. Sokovan has played many, many things in the past, but the best thing, in both of our opinions currently, the best Pokemon in the game is Blaziken. Now, not by much. There are a lot of other really, really good Pokemon. In fact, Ceruledge had more play and only slightly lower win percentages at Worlds. But even though Sokovan plays a really good Leafeon, a really good Meowscarada, a really good Urshifu, we figured that Blaziken was going to give us our best shot at winning, especially if we could somehow ban things like Charizard and Ceruledge. Now, that is going to get a little bit tricky, and I'll describe that in a second here. But as for the attacker, we settled on Inteleon, which you can see near the bottom here. Thundertoes, Cramorant was also an option, but Thundertoes has played a lot of Inteleon, and he was actually one of the dark horses at the World Championships. Nobody really expected Inteleon to make a comeback when attackers really aren't all that strong in this day and age. And so to see people like Rom and Toonslim pick up Inteleon and actually do really, really well with him kind of inspired us. So Thundertoes got back on the old sniper, and we decided to give it a go. So those are the 3 that we decided on taking. So Umbreon, Blaziken, and Inteleon. Sokovan was leading the charge, and we did that on purpose because even though Umbreon is technically... It could be said that he's more valuable than Blaziken, we just really wanted Blaziken because, I don't know, generally speaking, it just seems like the tank and who they get put on is going to be a little bit less influential in terms of how the game goes than, the jungle carry. So that's the reason that we were going to first pick Blaziken and second and third pick Umbreon and Inteleon. Now, here is the way that the tournament is run. They're all draft matches when you get into the tournament, right? So this is what I was talking about, is Sokovan shows up first, and he tries to lock in Blaziken, and then followed by me with Umbreon and Tito's with his attacker. Now, if you realize in this screenshot right here, Moshi58 is voting on a ban right now. So it's actually the last 2 people that pick that are in charge of banning. So we are not in charge of the bans at all, which in a way kind of keeps things fair. I mean, it gives everyone in the draft something to do. But sometimes we just have to deal with kind of weird bans. Like, I really don't mind seeing a Gengar here, but maybe Moshi thinks that it's ban-worthy. Or maybe I took this snapshot before they switched to something else. It's hard to say. But this is basically the case. Now, one of the worrying things is, are our allies actually going to know to work around our team composition? Are they going to know that once we call our lanes that it's their job to go to the top lane? And are they going to pick good top lane compositions? So those were some of the worries that we had, is about the bans and about whether they'd understand what the plan was and what was needed in the team composition. All right, so now with all of that out of the way, let's put everything on paper into practice and see how the actual games went. All right, so here we are in the usual suspect first ever tournament match. Like we explained, it starts in draft, and we can actually skip past a little bit of this. We get handed these two allies, Brown Bear and Warzen. We don't know these two, because in this tournament, a 3-stack gets paired with a 2-stack, and it'll be the same case for our opponents. So, like I explained, we already start locking in the Pokemon that we are looking to. We're pre-picking to show our allies that we're going for Blaziken, Umbreon, and Inteleon. And so right now we're getting past the ban phase, which we can skip forward a little bit. We end up banning Ho-Oh, which is great. The opponents ban away Charizard, which is awesome. This is something I didn't really explain, but Charizard is one of those Pokemon that I don't think is one of the best Pokemon in the game. It's up there, but it's definitely below Blaziken in my mind. The problem with Charizard is I'm really not experienced fighting him, and sometimes that shows in games, so I didn't want to deal with it. I would have rather banned Charizard. Now, of course, like I explained, we're not in charge of the bans, but I am absolutely glad to see him go. Ho-Oh's another one of those where I solidly think he's behind Umbreon, but I'm not super experienced playing against Ho, and that's the reason I'm really happy to see both of those Fire Flyers go. Now, the problem we almost immediately run into right here is Brown Bear is interested in playing Meowscarada, and he calls the center before Sokoven calls the center. This is something we struggle with at the beginning of the tournament, and we adapt to later. So, Warzen declares that he'd like to go to the top lane, and so Sokoven does something really interesting here that I didn't expect. He actually switches places with Warzen to then become the final pick, so that he can pick last and react to everything else that's happening. I thought that was really, really clever. So, Yujo over there locks in Blastoise on the opponent's side. Warzen and I get our picks in, and then Dariel and Catburglar are going to lock in their own picks, which are going to be Sylveon and Venusaur, I believe. You can skip ahead a little bit. They do end up going on Venusaur. And Brown Bear actually switches to Slowbro and switches to the top lane, which leaves the jungle open for Sokoven. And this is fantastic, and this was a great instinct by Brown Bear to see that Blaziken works pretty well in the center, so if you can't play a defender, we're just going to do that and head to the top lane. So I really do appreciate that from Brown Bear here. Now, we only have one experience share, which is A-OK. You absolutely don't need 2 experience shares unless you're at the highest levels of the game, which we're not entirely sure that we are at this point. So, one thing that was a little interesting is I think Warzen picked the wrong Mewtwo, because those items look perfect for a Mewtwo Y, but he is in fact playing Mewtwo X. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. Brown Bear is also playing a very offensive-oriented Slowbro, which is like not bad. It's definitely an option. And here Sokoven calls All-Rounder needed, kind of as the only possible way he could think of to let the Mewtwo know that they have the wrong items. But anyway, we can skip ahead to what's going to be the start of the game. Here, where we flip over the trainer cards, we're able to see that some of these opponents are actually lower level than we expected. Particularly Dondenzo and Sally Pants. They look a little on the newer side, which, okay, I mean, we were open to anything. We're ready for any level of opponent. Let's see what we're going to get. So we're going to skip past the early game. There are no mishaps when it comes to everyone going to the respective lane. So because I stack on this defender, my play patterns are going to be a lot different than on other defenders. Here I'm going to go to the goal directly, and I turn on my X-Speed before getting there. This is something that I have to clean up. Unless I see a reason to turn on the X-Speed, I should not use it preemptively like that. And here I mess up going around here where Thundertoes kindly waits before killing it to let me go get energy for another stack. Now here, Yujo and Dondenzo, if you remember, Dondenzo was actually part of the 2-stack, Yujo was part of the 3-stack. So these guys are probably not in communication with each other, and they showed up really late to the bottom lane. I'm thinking that maybe there was some confusion about which lane they were going to. Maybe they missed some attacks on their way to the farm, but this is really bad for them. Now I've got 3 stacks, and if this Indeedee gets stolen from them, they are so far behind. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do here. Not only do we steal it, but I'm the one who steals it, which means I can get a 3rd stack as Umbreon. And yes, that is Umbreon. They still have a Squirtle and a Zorua, and they're getting ganked. This is looking terrible for our opponents. Here, this is just an example of me understanding how much damage I can take versus how much damage I can dish out. I was not worried about that Zorua. I'm not worried about the Squirtle. I can stack here. Now it's retreat time. I don't doubt that we can take these two in a 3v2, but I do not want to take a risk fighting in the enemy goal. Luckily, we do all make it out. Now, unfortunately, Thundertoes has been a little bit too far from some of these secures to have gotten his level 5. Now we got it, so this is really, really good. The next thing we have to keep in mind is the timer for the 8-minute birds in the middle. So this is something that we've struggled with in the past, and in fact, Thundertoes made a note of saying, here I am trying to get a stack with 7, and it works. Thundertoes was noting before the tournament started that that's something that we have to clean up based on our practice rounds. And of course, these were all recorded live, so I don't have the ability to switch perspectives up to see what our buddies Brown Bear and Warzone are doing up there, but it looks like they're doing all right. Slowbro's fully evolved. I saw them closer to the opponent's goal earlier. Here's where I catch out Dariel. And I believe we don't defeat them here because of the Salic Berry that I slept on a little bit. Now this, I remember thinking it as it was happening, and I think about it every time I see the recording. If I had had any energy, that would have been an awesome way to get my 6th stack right there, but unfortunately I do not. And even though we came up here with a good rotation, there's not really anything to fight over, but I realized, 720s when the birds show up, I might as well help them secure all of those. And it seems I'm the only one who is prioritizing them, so I said, I might as well get these off the table, just something for our opponents to not have. Now, it's a little bit risky leaving the attacker to hold bottom by themselves, but at this point we have kept the opponents so well that they need to pick up anything. Look, poor Sally Pants is level 4. That is not good. The XP share tank is almost level 7 on the opposing side. Yujo over here is level 6. They're doing a little bit better. Dundenzo's also level 4. Unfortunate. So everything seems to be falling apart for the opponents here. And there is the 6th Umbreon stack. I think that was a missed snipe shot from Tito's there. It happens. I go in there to try and help Sokovan secure that, but he doesn't need help. Well, this is an interesting one here. We can easily force this war total out, and now it's just a matter of scoring what we can. So Tito's brings it to 21. I realize I can easily score 7 here, bring it closer. We tell Sokovan, but Sokovan's not interested in breaking this right now. He says we'd rather wait for another overscore. Because you guys don't know, the faster you break that first goal, the faster you open up catch-up experience on the side of the map for your opponents. So sometimes, if they're already choked on levels, why give them that catch-up XP, right? So here we show up a little bit late / Thundertoes isn't able to secure with Snipe Shot here, but that's okay because we're piling up on this goal. There's no way they're going to be able to penetrate our defenses. Actually though, I did mean to say that their levels had gotten a lot better, and that is because of some deaths that were caused of our teammates right around that point actually. You can see here that they have a Zorua up there. I see the little icon at the top. This is where we claim that we're heading up, and our 2 allies at the top lane were KO'd, and now they have a Venusaur. And you guys remember, you saw their levels. They were super far below us, but the next time we see them, I was counting up the levels, and that Sylveon and Venusaur, they're both above me now. Dariel and Cat Burglar. They're the same level as this Inteleon that looked super over-leveled just a minute ago. So that's how backbreaking some of those KOs on team members can be. This game does a really good job at being able to balance scores by making catch-up XP so monumental when you kill something that is stronger than you are. And so unfortunately that's something that we're going to have to play around. There's not much we could do. Even if Brown Bear and Warzone were playing perfectly up there, sometimes the opponent they send 1 or 2 more players than you were expecting, and there's just nothing you can do to avoid dying in that situation. And that must have been exactly what happened. I pull out the Hoopa there because I see Sokovan and Thundertoes coming to clean them up. No big deal. I use a foul play strategically to push the birds away from the opponents here. And let's see. Yeah, we're able to force them out here. I bring the goal to 4, and now we reap the rewards that we accrued for ourselves by not breaking this goal earlier. That is a whopping 36 overscore. So, unfortunately, this Hydro Typhoon is going to get completely eaten by Moonlight Prance right here. One of the reasons that Umbreon is so bonkers right now, he's the best defender, contrary to what I had believed before Worlds, is that his Unite move just counters so many things, and one of those things is Blastoise. Blastoise gets a really fat shield when he uses his Unite move, and Umbreon just eats the entire thing, and that's why the Blastoise was not long for the world. Now here I'm doing a really good job padding everyone's HP with Wish. The problem with Wish as a heal, of course, is that it's not instant, but the benefit of it is that it's a really big heal, especially with 6 stacks on the Umbreon, because it scales off of your attack. Hence, that's why the attack weight is good on this Pokemon, in case you guys didn't know. It's not just because you want your foul plays to hit harder. In fact, the primary purpose is to make your heals hit harder, because they scale with your attack stat. So here I was coming up just to make sure this Zoroark doesn't get anything for free, and of course he did get a score of 2, and if he's stacking, then that was probably worthwhile. So here is the objective. Thundertoe's great idea shooting into that bush, just in case there was someone there. Same idea on Sakaman's mind. Now here is the weakness of Umbreon that is a recurring theme of this tournament. Great play by Yujo, by the way, here, going in with Blastoise and using Hydro Typhoon to just kind of try and secure that Regieleki. I think they might not have seen the Regieleki's HP before doing that. I don't think it was that low, but that was a pretty good move, especially since it's going to catch all of your opponents. And anyway, what I'm trying to get at is I, as an Umbreon, have no real way to stop these opponents from just like flooding the Regieleki area. Sure, I'm in the way, I'm in this bush, but what can I do? Foul play doesn't move them except for maybe an inch on the second foul play. Wish doesn't do anything. Without Mean Look, I'm completely incapable of stopping these opponents from walking up to the Regieleki. And after they do that, now I just have to hope that my team secure is better than the opponent secure. And that's one of the things that I didn't really have to worry about when I was on Surf Slowbro or on Rock Tomb or Xyz or Crustle, or even Wigglytuff with Sing, is that I'm really good at zoning this out, and this is one of the weaknesses that Umbreon has that the other defenders that I play don't share. Now, I wasn't able to eat this Hydro Typhoon because my Unite move is on cooldown. His came back much faster. But we are able to secure the Regieleki and clean them up. It looks like our team fighting is superior to the opposing team. Here I'm going to scout out a little bit. You never know if they're going to send out 5 to defend this Regieleki or if it's just going to be 1, so it's really nice to just stick around and see if we can take advantage of any situation. So here I am getting my farm regardless of whether they choose to defend or not. I see that they did, so I don't need to push any farther, but Thundertoes is here and so is Brown Bear. So if they're looking to do something, then heck, maybe I can too. Now that was a moment where I maybe should have united. I still do, but their shields were already depleted. I reacted a little bit too late. Now here I'm zoning again, right? I'm not leaving the area in case the Regieleki does crash. I still want to take advantage of it, but I'm also not just giving myself up, being too close. Especially because if I can give the impression that I left the fight, maybe the opponents will be a little bit more hesitant to stay occupied with the Regieleki even more. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I made sure to call retreat to indicate what I was doing when I left the fight. I don't want my allies getting killed because they thought that I was still in the fight, so I always like to announce things like that. But it looks like we're still doing well. The Regieleki, did it walk? I don't remember if it did, actually. Oh, it did, yes. So now we are going to try and get to that bottom Regi, I believe. Or are we going center? Oh, it looks like we're going center just to get a good positioning before the raid fight, because we did lose some key members. Warzone is down by the objective, and I think Thundertoes goes to see if we can help him secure this. I reacted just a second too slow to see Yujo scoring up here in our goal. If I had reacted immediately, I could have stopped that. But because my brain didn't register it until like 2 seconds into the score, I understood at the moment that I could make a decision that I wasn't going to make it there in time. That's why you see me continuing to just farm, because I didn't want to just stop farming, even when I was not going to catch the Blastoise out. We do catch Dondenzo on the Zoroark, though. He made the unfortunate mistake of coming in here and trying to stack. I think that was a slow beam. I don't know if that was... Oh no, I'm sorry. It seems Brown Bear is on telekinesis, that's what that was. And unfortunately, I did not realize that a fight had broken out down here. I'm too late to stop this Venusaur. And Thundertoes was unfortunately killed. Now, we did take Sylveon Catburglar down with us, and Dariel is like, they're locked here. So I didn't need to unite there. I just wanted to finish that as quickly as possible so that we could have as much time to make a decision as possible. In hindsight, I don't think I should have done that. I now have lost my best counter to Hydro Typhoon, which we're going to see bite us right here. This Blastoise is going to take a little bit longer to kill than it should have had I not used my Unite move on Dariel back there. So here I'm making sure to cap everyone off with Wish. I don't want, when the opponents come in to try and challenge us, I don't want them fighting half HP Pokemon, right? I want everyone at full HP. So at this point, it gets a little sloppy. This team, we were manhandling in the early game, definitely, but there was a reality where we could lose this game, even despite how much of a dominant performance it was. Now, luckily, we have a lot of good secure, a lot of powerful Pokemon on this team. I think the quality of our Pokemon does beat out the quality of the opponent's Pokemon here. And of course, two other players looked a little bit less experienced, like some of the least experienced players in the game, which is totally fine. I definitely respect them for coming out, trying their hand in this tournament. They picked two very difficult Pokemon to use, Hoopa and Zoroark, and if they come back, I would suggest maybe trying to look at something that is a little bit easier to use. Once you get used to some of the macro, I'm sure they'll be pretty good players themselves, but as of today, we definitely showed that we were the better team of these two, and that was us opening the tournament with a win, which was absolutely excellent. So after we won the Rayquaza, there was really no doubt that we were going to take this game, and of course we did. So here are some of the statistics. Brown Bear absolutely going off with the Choice Specs, and Spoon Scaldbro getting top kills. Warzone, I think, would have done a little bit better if their items belonged to Mewtwo X and not Mewtwo Y, but despite that, they did a respectable job themselves. And of course, shout out to our opponents. They all performed admirably. Yujo was a headache for us most of the game. Dariel dumped a bunch of damage on us, and Catburglar wasn't doing too bad either. Again, fantastic job to everyone. Brown Bear and Warzone, thank you very much for your efforts, and let's see what the second match looks like. Alright, so to avoid this video getting way too long, I think I'm going to cap it off after the second of 8 matches, and then I will continue with a later video. So this is the draft phase, of course. We're paired this time with Seabass and Spagnoli, and we are up against Bree Wicked, Eric, Dancing Deer, and Black Star. So something kind of interesting happens in this game in terms of picks. Right off the bat, we have a Hoopa ban, which I don't mind. It's just that based off of the level of play of our last opponents, I don't think Hoopa is something that we necessarily have to fear at this level. The opponents ban Ho-Oh, which is kind of great for us, and we are not fans of Decidueye, so that gets on the chopping block. And over here, Lala M is going to ban... They almost banned Charizard, which I would have loved, but instead, I think they end up banning Cerulege, which, hey, also works for us, because that means Blaziken is still on the table, and so is Umbreon. And of course, we are going to check out that Blaziken. But here, this is the interesting thing that happens, is Spagnoli mouses over the Blaziken for a split second there. And I think Sokovan recognizes this and says, well, if that's a Pokemon that maybe he's interested in playing, why don't I switch to Urshifu, which is a Pokemon that Sokovan actually has good experience on. And in fact, we were kind of thinking that before the tournament started, Urshifu might be our main first pick to jungle, not Blaziken. But we ended up favoring the latter. Now, Sokovan's build, I guess on both Pokemon, is a little weird, but especially on Urshifu. And Sokovan's been trying to make Water Urshifu work since back when he was really bad. He was really good at one point. In fact, at the last World Championship, so not the one last month, but the one a year ago, he was one of the dominant forces there. But he was nerfed twice and then had been really bad, and Sokovan was one of those people trying to make him work to moderate success. And so these are some of his item choices, the Charm to help assassinate, and the Resonant Guard because Urshifu has HP percentage bonuses in his kit. Now I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about Urshifu, I just play these defenders, but Sokoman definitely knows his stuff when it comes to tinkering with items. The Slow Smoke on Urshifu is a Sokoman special as well. So we get the Umbreon and we get the Inteleon, but unfortunately we are going to have to be playing against that Charizard this round, which we are hoping to avoid this tournament. Well, it turns out that Spagnoli, seeing Sokoman pivot to Urshifu, is actually going to lock in the Blaziken anyway. And this is one of the things that Sokoman was hoping. Blaziken's not the easiest Pokemon to play, first of all. So when I say that we consider him the best Pokemon in the game, that's not in anyone's hands. We had to believe in Sokoman's ability to play the Blaziken. And the idea here was hopefully we end up with Urshifu and Blaziken, and that'd be awesome. And oh, look at that, Spagnoli is a fan of the Slow Smoke themselves. Fantastic. So now we have two uber powerful all-rounders. We have the best defender in the game. We have arguably the best attacker in the game, and another one of the best attackers in the game in this Venusaur. Which, judging by the Spoon and Choice specs, seems like a Venusaur. I don't remember if it was a Petalsaur, but this is what we ended up with. We're pretty happy about that. One thing to consider when we are running with Urshifu is his clear is a lot slower than Torchic's. So this is one of those times where we're going to have to be really on top of the mid-bird time at 8 minutes, at the 8-minute mark. So here I run. I accidentally secured too much, but the enemy don't try and stop me. In fact, they both aggressively go toward Thundertoes. This could really backfire for them. If they don't steal from that Sobble, they're going to be in a world of hurt because now they don't have their Ndidi. Their Umbreon opponent has evolved and has 2 stacks. He's about to steal their Bunnelby and get 3 stacks. And here, Breewicked's coming back. They have no energy. And Dancing Deer is there. They have 2 energy. So they were not able to steal anything from that Sobble. Thundertoes is carrying 17 energy. Umbreon is fully evolved. I have 3 stacks. This is going terribly for our opponent. And worst of all, they're getting ganked now. So we have to be careful not to overextend, right? Because if we play into our opponent's hand, we can still get killed. And getting killed would be terrible. Because as much as I'm talking about how much of an advantage we have, that's the more and more of an advantage you accrue, the more and more it becomes riskier to die. So what happened here is that we got ganked. I don't know. I did not realize when Eric came in from the jungle on that Charizard. So he just appears in the center there. He must have been hiding in some grass. Okay, so I get my 4th stack here. And unfortunately, Thundertoes goes down, but that's much better than Sokoman going down because Sokoman's carrying more experience. Now here, I am kind of scared. And I should have not retreated here. Of course, ultimately, it's Sokoman's job to know if he's overextending and when to stop giving the edge, but I definitely should stay close to Sokoman because if anyone gets killed, I prefer it to be me. Our jungler must be conserved because that's a lot more catch-up XP that his death will be giving the opponents. Now, Eric on Charmeleon comes back. He tries to press for an advantage, trying to avenge his last death, but he sees that it's not a good opportunity and he retreats, and that's a very clever play. Now here, Thundertoes remembers, oh, the center. I could have gone with him. In fact, you could say I should have, and here I call out leave the defense to me. Of course, the Urshifu's still farming, and I see both of the bottom laners... Oh, sorry, no. This is the jungler. So Breewick and Eric are here. I don't have a sign of... Who was here earlier? Espeon, right? Anyway, so knowing that he's late to the birds, Sokoman just comes down to gank instead of trying to pick up last scraps that Thundertoes actually took all to himself. So it looks like Charmeleon has become the de facto bottom laner. Now I see, unfortunately, that Seabass on that Venusaur is still a Bulbasaur. I can see that little icon. That means it's not going great up there. And I can't blame them. There's 3 opponents up there. So I'm hoping that they can find some experience somewhere to at least evolve into Ivysaur, and then things will look a lot better. But I remember Sokoman noting that at least they have a Combuskin, so they might be fine. And you know, this is one of the risks of taking 2 Pokemon that need 2 evolutions to the top lane that has even less experience than the bottom lane does. So here I'm just keeping an eye on Eric on the Charizard. He has a Charizard that's kind of scary, but I still steal a farm with Foul Play. We get the Reggie, and now we can potentially push into them But of course, we're really careful not to overcommit, or at least we should be. Because I think this is one of the areas where things go wrong. We dispatched that Eldegoss. We're waiting for an optimal score here. I can bring it to 1, and Sokovan is carrying 40, and we call out to him, but he was chasing the Charizard. And unfortunately, we are going to give that Charizard the catch-up XP. He flies Sokovan all the way to the other goal. And now, we're getting all of the Pokemon that just accomplished great things in the top lane. They have all collapsed on the bottom lane. Now this is bad. There is no way I can defend from all of this. Not as Umbreon. So I make a decision to retreat. Maybe pick up the catch-up XP. And this looks bad. We're actually behind for the first time this tournament. Of course, this is only the second game, and I think Espeon just stole the jungle farm. So they came in here and took everything. That's really bad. There are bright sides. I mean, we're not under-leveled per se. I have 6 stacks on Umbreon. We're going to see if we can come clean this up. Our endgame composition looks really, really good. Venusaur, Blaziken, Inteleon, Urshifu, and Umbreon. We're going to be a scary team at the Ray fight as long as we don't make any mistakes that our opponents can capitalize on. But right now, things aren't looking too hot. Well, fortunately, we do have a Venusaur, we do have a Blaziken. I could... here's a Ninetales. I see him go into the bush, trying to secure this stuff. I did not get it, unfortunately. One of the things that I'm trying to balance playing Umbreon is knowing when to go in, when to dip out, when to wish, wait for wish to come off, come back in. Now here, I didn't realize how far they had dove into us from below. Oh man, close. Okay, we do get that Charizard, which is important. Blastoise is less important because he's only level 8. I'm trying to stay alive here. I would love to wish that Venusaur, but I need it a little bit more. In hindsight, if I knew that I was going to recall, I should have wished the Venusaur. I don't know what I was thinking there. But anyway, Spagnoli, the Blaziken, is out there trying to solo the Regieleki. I'm hoping that he gets it. Now here, I make a mistake with Sokovan. We both think the same thing of let's just pick up these birds, and we're going to get to bottom lane in time. But I think we should have ignored it. If we had, we might have been able to save Thundertoes there. Now he gets killed, and we have to fight after the fact, which matters a lot less. However, we're still going to make this work if we can take down this Regi. Eldegoss doesn't have the best secure in the game, and I am trying my best to zone him out. But of course, Umbreon is not the best at zoning. The only thing I have is that second round of foul play, and for a second there, I thought that Bree Wicked had stolen that. There was a really good attempt on that part. They put it so low, but Sokovan was able to finish it off with that punch. We honestly got a little bit lucky there. Now here, I think Sokovan maybe should have retreated. I think he told me after this that he knew he couldn't, so he was just trying to do some damage before he left, which is really unfortunate because he's our jungler. He's the one that we don't want dying, because when he dies, that's the most XP that our opponents could get. Here I'm going to try and defend, but I see there's 5 of them. Umbreon does not stand a chance against 5 of them. Even Umbreon plus Inteleon doesn't stand a chance against all 5 of them. So Inteleon's going to go down here. Sokovan jumps in, but even the mighty Water Urshifu is not going to be able to last here. Do I give my Unite, or am I trying to conserve it? It looks like I'm trying to conserve it right now. Right now I'm trying to steal this Charizard, but I miss. I meant to be in front of him with the foul play to send him back. But luckily he does go into the into our jungle where Sokovan can chase him. And I come down here to try and chase the rest of them, but I didn't realize where our team came from, and they already chased them away or killed them. Alright, so we have to be looking at timers here, and there is a Regieleki that's going to pop up. I have to assume that that's what's on our mind, other than getting all the farm in the top lane. So I don't know why these guys are down here. I came to try to heal Seabass, but I don't know why we were here. Maybe to try and score, but here I am calling the retreat. And it turns out none of us were going to make it to top. So we didn't communicate very well here. I was trying to stop the Venusaur from dying. I should have been up there. Thundertoes is the only one trying to steal the Regieleki, and he gets warded off by Black Star on the Blastoise. So Sokovan has joined them, but they're just farming the birds. They're not interested in diving in and risking getting killed. This is one of the moments that happens a lot in the tournament as well, where the enemy gets a Regieleki right before the Rayquaza is going to spawn. And here Spagnoli is calling to gather at the center. And that is definitely one of our options. In a vacuum, you could say it's the better one, but we're actually able to see what is going to happen here. So one of the things that we're going to decide to do is wait in this grass and see if we see anyone pushing it. We do have eyes on the Ninetales, but we don't see anyone else. And as soon as we realize Ninetales is alone, and we see the little orange bubbles starting to pile up at the center of the map, we say, okay, no, we are going to let this crash. It's not as bad as it crashing into our home goal. They can try and get some advantage, but if they do, they're going to be late to the center fight. So here we have to rush in, and we did not realize how aggressively they dived in. And what saved us here is just how much damage Spagnoli and Seabass were able to do with them. Did you guys see what HP they were when they first popped into view? So Thundertoes and Sokovan are behind me, and I rush in, and these two are almost dead. In fact, Espeon just died. Blackstar's about to get killed here. He starts to get out of the way, and I unite here and kill Eric on the Charizard. Oh, Breewicked kills Thundertoes. No, that wasn't Thundertoes. Sorry, Seabass with Cotton Cloud Crash. And here we see the final unite from the Ninetales, but it's met with Urshifu's unite, and here, yeah, Blackstar does his best to secure with his unite move, but he wasn't quite in the pit, and another one wrapped up. So like I said, what really lost our opponents the game here, because they had a really good idea of taking the Regieleki and just hammering the center as quickly as possible, like Blitzkrieg style. But the problem was they were met with so much damage from the Venusaur and Blaziken that by the time the reinforcements came in, we were really just able to clean up most of them. And so huge credit there to Seabass and Spagnoli, first for being at the Ray fight, for having their Unite moves ready, for just being able to deal so much damage to the team. If they had just folded over, we very likely would have lost this game, because they had caught us out of position. Not by too much. We were ready to dive into the center, but we were just not ready for how quickly they were going to crash into mid. And luckily, everything worked out. But of course, kudos to Breewicked, to Eric, to Dancing Deer, Blackstar, Lala M. They gave us a run for our money there. They had a good shot to steal the game away in that final section. But of course, we all know how it's going to end from here. The team that won Rayquaza is pretty significantly in the lead. They actually scored quite a bit on us at the end, but we were making sure to keep our scores above. So, yeah, not the highest scoring game in the world, but it was pretty well executed. And that makes it 2 wins and 0 losses in the Rayquaza Cup number 10. So, looking good for the usual suspects. I'm going to cut the video off here, but if you guys are interested, stay tuned for more footage coming your way. Alright, take care.